DJ Lil create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get Love Like Mine podcast. We are your humble hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. This is season 2, episode 15, I believe. Is it 15?
I thought it was 16. It might be 15.
No, it's 15. And the reason we're a little confused is because next week, episode 16, will be the season finale. We're taking off for the summer. So, we are grateful for, all the feedback that we've gotten. The last couple of episodes have been in heavy rotation for, I won't even discuss the reasons, but I'm just glad people are watching. The last 2 podcasts we have discussed marriage. It all stemmed from a young lady who wanted advice and assistance with her marriage. So she said she had watched the podcast and felt like if we put the information on the podcast, it could help her marriage. So that's why we just started this 3-part series, and this is the 3rd installment. Last week we discussed, on the Ask the Amoses, we discussed having secret bank accounts, secret stashes. So today we want to talk about finances. So what you think?
So again, we are grateful for those that are watching and tuning in, listening. Hopefully we are adding some perspective to things that everyday problems that may occur in relationship, marriage, whatever. So today we kind of want to piggyback off of parts 1 and 2 of this series. For starters, I believe really in part 1 and part 2 we discussed the two of you viewing your relationship as we are one. So when you're married, you are, in God's eye, you're considered one entity. He's not going to bless one and not the other. Whatever one gets, it's, for the group. We are one. So stop looking at yourselves as two, because, again, you're putting that imaginary line down between the two of you, and you give Satan something to divide. And trust me, he will try to divide you. So the money topic is always a good one. I don't know what it is about relationships and money, but people just, for whatever reason, don't have the talk. They don't discuss money. They may know what each other brings home, or they may not know. Hey, you may have a spouse or that kind of keeps their check stuff secret. They don't want you to know. And I know men that make a fuss over who makes the most. Mm-hmm. Now, if we're one, no one can make. It's not a deal, right?
Right.
Yeah, we are one. So, anyway, before we get too far off of subject, we want you to be able to view your finances as one also. Let's discuss the oneness in finance too. A lot of people, hey, when it comes to money, it's just a different topic. Hey, I can share my car with you. You can drop me off and pick me up. You can come move in. You can live, help pay the bills, whatever. But when it comes to that bank account, well, I don't know if I trust you with that PIN number and the debit card. So I can't put a time frame on that. Hopefully, when you got married, you didn't marry someone,
a stranger, right?
Right, in the first 3 to 6 months, and y'all never had the discussion about money. You don't know how that significant other reacts when they're broke, when they lose a job, when they have a lot of money. See, that's a big thing. You would think, having a lot of money, it's going to be all good. Well, that person may come up on a lot of money and instantly think, I need to figure out a way to hide this from you. Mm-hmm. That's not oneness. So a huge thing here when it comes to money, communication. you have to have this discussion. Hopefully, it's ongoing. That you guys are gonna always, you're gonna keep growing as a couple, as a married couple. So money is gonna always be a factor. So it's good to start early to discuss money, and so that it won't be uncomfortable. I think that's the main reason why people don't discuss money, is because it's kind of uncomfortable. Everybody's been raised in different environment. Just last week we listened to Ask the Amoses. A chick say, "Hey, my mom taught me to have a secret stash from him he don't need to know about." But at the same time, she was explaining, "Hey, this guy's a great guy. He doesn't hide nothing from me. He's honest. He bring the money home." So I think in that sense, she was kind of feeling a little guilt. Like, he doesn't do this to me, but I'm doing it to him. But I got it from my mom. What do you guys think? So there's a lot to iron out when it comes to money, because, again, you guys grew up in, it's just like raising kids. When you grew up in different environments, you may think it's fine to whoop the kids for bad grades. I may think that's completely unnecessary. So again, that's something else. Communication, you need to discuss.
You should discuss these things before you even get married, but that doesn't mean you got married without discussing it. Now you're just not going to discuss it. You still need to discuss it, and you'll need to discuss it often, because just like we discussed last week, that people change over the years. They change from their 20s to their 30s to their 40s to their 50s. So will your finances. So will your financial situation. When you first got together, you might have been in college working work study or something part-time. Then you got your first full-time job. Then you left that job, and then you went to a job that was making less money. And then maybe you hit the lottery. Who knows? Your finances will change. They're not a constant over a long marriage or even a short marriage. But so you'll need to discuss, how we're going to pay our bills, how we're going to save. How we're going to purchase our first home, how we're going to pay for our cars if your credit score is not good, but mine is, and I know that we could get a better interest rate if we use my credit than your credit. Maybe we should put your car in my name. These are things that married couples will have to figure out. And people always say 2 heads are better than one. So between the two of you, you ought to be able to come up with a good plan for your finances.
But you have to talk about it.
You have to. You have to discuss it. I know it's a little taboo. Sometimes, I've heard people say it's rude to ask somebody how much money they make. But if this is your spouse, you need to know how much money they make. You need to know, you need to be able to plan for your future. You need to be able to know, should we be looking for a house that costs $100,000, or can we afford a house that costs $400,000? Should I be able to get this car with this $250 car note, or can I afford a $1,200 car note? You have to be realistic with your finances in order to be able to live comfortably, because we've said this more than once. Money, finances, that's one of the biggest causes of divorce, because I'm not even going to say it's because people don't talk about it, but it's because people aren't realistic about it. If you get with a man and he makes a lot of money, and he tells you, you don't have to work, you just stay at home and take care of the kids, you can't go into that situation feeling like, I don't bring any value to the relationship and all the money is his money. That's not how that works. Even though you are the stay-at-home mom, you still play a vital role in his life, in your children's lives, in your home life, and his money should be y'all's money. Let me rephrase. The money he earns should still be y'all's money. And, you have to set up a plan that you both can live with. Will we, we have this one bank account. I'm going to give you a debit card to do your grocery shopping, buy clothes, get your hair done, do whatever. You might have to put some parameters on it. You might have to say, look, I know we got to pay the mortgage this month. Try not to spend more than $300 on groceries this week or whatever. But you have to have the conversation so that you can be realistic about how much to spend and when it can be spent. You don't want to have a situation where you don't tell your husband you're going to buy some new Louboutins that are $700. And then in the meantime, he got the cell phone bill and he thinks it's okay to just write the check when you've taken out this big chunk that you guys didn't discuss. A lot of people feel like I shouldn't have to ask you for permission to spend money that I earned. Well, it's not about asking permission. It's just about balancing your checkbook. You have to, there are checks and balances for a reason. So if you know someone else is spending money out of your account, it's only right to discuss it with them.
I've heard, my goodness, so many things from co-workers pertaining to money, and some of it may have made me wonder, I wonder how that works in that household. But one thing I've heard a lot is someone say, I don't have to ask, or I don't need permission to spend money in the house because I'm working, I put money in too, I can do what well, I don't think the problem is having permission. I don't think that's the problem. The problem is, like you said, these things have to be structured so that the light bill doesn't come back insufficient funds. So, yeah, you put money in the house account because you go to work. So part of that money, in your eyes, 50% of it is mine too. Well, you need to pay bills with some of your 50% too. All I'm saying is, look, okay, you're gonna have to figure out a way to make sense out of it without everybody going into the separate corners of the ring and waiting for the bell to ding come out so we can start boxing over the money. Don't allow money or poor communication about money in your relationship cause y'all to go your separate ways. Understand, try to be understanding. Understand we didn't grow up the same, and a lot of our money habits come from what we saw growing up, what we saw our parents do with money.
I don't even agree with that. Some of our money habits come because our parents didn't discuss their finances with us. They didn't tell us about credit, and not when you go off to college, not to accept all those credit card offers that they're going to send you because you don't have a job to pay the credit card. Like, a lot of our bad financial habits come because no one taught us.
Lack of education.
Yeah, no one taught us how to manage our money. We say this all the time, that like taxes and mortgages and things like that need to be taught in high school. Like students, the high school students who are embarking on the workforce need to learn what it means to file your taxes, to get a tax return, what income tax is, what was the one you said? Amortization schedule. Like, you need to know what those things are when you're graduating high school and you're, embarking on being an adult. Because sometimes our parents didn't teach us those things. Our 8-year-old, he knows what a debit card is, he knows what a credit card is, but he does not know that it is attached to a bank account. So when he asks me for things and I say I don't have any money, he'd be like, well, just use your card. Well, there has to be some money behind the card, so I've had to explain this to him. But a lot of times we grow up and our parents, just like they don't have the financial talk with each other, they don't have the financial talk with their kids. And so then we grow up and we get in a household with somebody and we think, oh, I don't have to tell him how much money I make. That's my business. It's rude to ask people how much money they'll make. But you need to know these things if you guys are going to be one. So I was watching The Breakfast Club this week, and Rashida and Kirk from Love and Hip Hop were on there, and they talked about their finances. So Kirk says that they have a lot of different businesses. Number one, Rashida's an artist and he's her manager. So that was their first relationship before they even got married. So technically she still pays him, or he pays her, however it goes. They work together on that. Then they have a restaurant, they have clothing stores, they have other businesses that they have started since they've been married. And he said that they split everything 50-50. Any check that comes in, whether it's coming to her or to him, they split it 50-50. He said they have separate accounts, but they are able to see all the accounts. Like, you may have a separate account, but I have access to it. I can see what your balance is. He even said that if he sees that she has more in her savings account than he does, that he'll sell one of his cars just to make his savings account equal or more than what hers is, because it doesn't sit right with him if she has more money saved up than he does. But that is that they've been married, I want to say over 20 years, or coming up on 20 years this year. This is what works for them financially, and it's clear they have a lot of money. But that's their plan. That's how they work things out. It works for them. So all we're saying is you need to find a plan that works for you, depending on, if the wife makes more money, or the husband makes more money, or if you have I'll call them old-fashioned, because it's not the same anymore. Back in the day, the husband would pay all the bills. He paid the mortgage, he paid all the bills. Then it started changing to he paid the mortgage, she paid the utilities, and bought the groceries. Then nowadays I see people say we're splitting everything 50-50. We're paying the mortgage together. We're paying for groceries together. Like, put the receipt on the counter so I know how much to send you, because we're splitting everything 50-50. Whatever way you feel like works for you and your marriage, don't compare yourself to Kirk and Rashida. Don't compare yourself to us. Have the conversation with your spouse, how we're going to do things, and this is what we're going to do. And if the situation changes, I'll use my first marriage as an example. My first marriage, we were splitting everything 50-50. Then he lost his job, and so everything kind of fell on me. I didn't think it would be long term, and it wasn't. It lasted a couple of months, and I took care of things. And then when he got a new job, he wasn't making as much as I was. So I paid more. I took on the more, because I didn't want him to be putting in what I'm putting in, and then he doesn't have any spending money, and he's like looking at me because I have money left over. So I said, well, I'll pay this and you pay that. We did have a plan. And when we broke up, it wasn't about money, but we had a plan. And a lot of people look at that like she's the woman and she's paying more. Well, I made more, so that was my plan. But I just want you to be cautious when it's like that, because sometimes people have a little bit of resentment for having to pay more. I don't feel like I did, but I might have. I'm not going to act like I didn't, but I've seen it. And the only reason I know that other people do is because of me being an attorney. I see people come in saying they want a divorce. They have resentment because of how their financial plan has come about. So that's why I say your plan may need to change. You may start out in the beginning saying we're going to split everything 50-50. He may come in and say, okay, we were doing joint accounts. Now I want separate accounts. If that's okay with you, it's okay to change your plan. Whatever, works best for you and your marriage, that's what that's a way to circumvent getting a divorce behind money. But we tell y'all this all the time. Communication really is key. Like, you need to be able to speak to your spouse as your best friend. You guys should really be able to discuss every topic. No topic should be off limits.
And so if you aren't at that point in your relationship, like, kind of set that as a goal to get there. Like, I may feel uncomfortable discussing money now, but it doesn't mean it has to stay like that. And I think the biggest thing is, you have to start somewhere. So whatever it is in the relationship that's uncomfortable, usually over time, discomfort goes away. The more you love somebody, the more it's easier for you to bond, come together as one, to be able to share things, stories, past, share money, time, whatever it is. Over time, hopefully you're able to bring down those barriers and come together more. And money is like a huge topic that falls in that category. So if you're uncomfortable in the beginning, that's one of the main reasons why I would tell my grown kids, or on the way to being grown kids, to slow down, take your time, get to know people. Don't just rush into the first person that looks like the person you dreamed about when you were a kid. Like, his hair is always edged up and he wears the new Jordans every week. Well,
he must have money.
Yeah, that's nice, but there's so much more that goes into the two of you being able to coexist as one. And like you said, communication it sounds so run-of-the-mill, all you hear, communicate, but what it actually looks like and actually being able to pull it off is really not all that easy sometimes, especially discussing money. Like, if you're dating someone right now, just as a homework assignment, just discuss, if we were married, how I think we should split up the bills that we have, and just see how it goes. Because it'll probably make you feel uncomfortable, and everybody wants what they want, and especially if you make more than that other person, you're gonna feel like you're entitled to spend more, and probably be a little more bold on decision making on what gets bought when, and which one we buy, which refrigerator we buy should I don't need.
Why should you have it?
Yeah, you stay home. I'll be back. I make more of the money, so why should you have some say-so on the refrigerator? You should just be happy that a new one's coming. Well,
I think you also, in that situation, need to discuss what your expectations are. That goes along with the money, as far as I'm concerned. If I saw this video this week. It was an old man who said he don't want your input. He wants you to sit in the corner, but you're going to live good, you're going to ride good, you're going to eat good. So what that says to me is he's going to provide for you, but he doesn't expect you to have any input. And some women, that might be okay. I am not here to judge. But you guys need to have that talk before you're 5-10 years in and she's ready to put them paws on you, because
I've even seen 6 months. Some early 6 months. She never knew that's how he thought.
Yeah.
The bullheaded, I'm the man. All that's fine. I mean, I don't live that way. I didn't grow up in a house that way. But for some folks, that may work. Mm-hmm. But if y'all never discuss it, and now she's hearing these things for the first time 5 months later after the marriage, and she's going, man, if I had any idea, I wouldn't have even dated him. I'm like, oh man, that's cool, but y'all got married early.
But you have to have this discussion about your finances and your expectations from the finances. Like, some people might feel if we're splitting everything 50-50 and I have $3,000 left over at the end of the month and you only have $300 left over at the end of the month, you can't tell me what to do with my $3,000. So if I come in here, I done went to the Galleria and I done went shopping, and you sitting here eating ramen noodles because you didn't have any money left over, like, y'all need to discuss what your expectations are, because, like I said, you can end up having resentment for your spouse. When I said earlier that I don't recall if I had resentment for my spouse, that was the resentment that I did have for my spouse. That because I made more money, I paid more of the bills, and then he had a lot of money for recreation. I did not. Like, I didn't have a lot of money left over at the end of the month. So I'm looking at him like, why am I spending all my money on the bills and you have money to go to the liquor store, to go to the club, to hang out, to drive across town, riding around with your friends all day? Like, and I don't have money left over to do any of that. And I ended up having resentment because I was doing more financially because I made more. And we probably should have had a talk, but I did a lot of things not great, not right in my 20s, but I've learned. And like I said, your finances evolve, so you're gonna have to constantly have that conversation. It's not a one-time conversation, and your expectations might change. The older you get, you may want the feedback of your spouse. Like, you may get out of the men, for the men anyway, you might grow out of that kind of macho attitude, that ego that says I don't need your input, because now you've bought a refrigerator that doesn't hold all the food that your wife is cooking. So now you might say, babe, come on, go to the appliance store with me so we can pick out the right refrigerator that we need. Now you're having a different conversation about finances and expectations.
And just as a footnote, if you was a guy that made most of the money that went down there and bought the refrigerator, don't come home and tell everybody what can and go in there. Don't put that in my new refrigerator. But all these first 3 shelves, I decide what's going on now. That one at the very bottom, or that pull-out drawer, you can put your little Sun Delight drinks, but that's it. Run them by me first. But hopefully your relationship, I'll speak on our relationship and money for this show, is that we have been together for, 18 years? So we were friends for a long time before we got married. And so fortunately for us, our relationship evolved, it grew into not two, but we really became one. Mm-hmm. I gave y'all some homework a couple episodes ago. I said, look, if you've never prayed with your spouse, just try it one time just to see what happened. Just go in the bedroom, close the door behind you, get out your knees, say, look, hold my hand, let's just pray together. I'm going to say a little something, and you can if you want to, you don't have to, and just see what happens to your relationship. Me and my wife pray together. We prayed together plenty of times. We prayed for the kids, just in general. It doesn't even have to be, nothing major going on, somebody in surgery or cancer, So over the years, our relationship to me has grown into oneness, where we just really, really love each other like that. So money to me is not hard to share. I don't have to sit down and let's structure who's gonna pay what. It's like we both know what needs to be paid here, and there may be times when I have more money than she does. There may be times when she has more money than me. It doesn't even really matter. All we know is what needs to be done. So over the years, we've grown to love each other in that way that I know the top 2 reasons people get divorced: behind sex and behind money. Those are 2 things that are not going to ever disrupt my marriage. I don't care if one of us hit the lottery. But, and hopefully one of us will.
I'm sitting there like, is that a bad thing? I'm going to get a ticket next week.
Man, look, I had a coworker. He say if I hit the, we look at the board up there, and sometimes the lottery get to be, $500 million. Mm-hmm. And he's married now. And I've heard more than one guy say, man, look, if I hit that, I'm gonna cut her a check right there on the spot because I'm out.
What? Oh my!
I'm gonna give her a portion of that 30 million, whatever it is, 150 million. She gonna get her a check right then, and I'm going to live like ain't no tomorrow.
Wow.
Hey, and in his eyes, she should be happy. She's gonna be able to do whatever she want to do. The only problem is, she ain't doing it with me.
That's crazy.
Hey, you'd be surprised how many people think like, boy, I would get rid of you in a heartbeat if enough money came through. But anyway, hey,
y'all would be sick of us if we won the lottery. They'll be like, they are never at home. They always on vacation somewhere on some island.
Yep. So money wise, we are able to we coexist as one, but it comes from years and years and years of spending time together. I don't, and my wife doesn't either. It's odd for 2 people to not hold money to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. I have friends, people I went to school with, they will give you what they call the shirt off their back. Just don't ask for no money. It's just money is just different. It's a different scenario. When you let's say you get a charge on your credit card. Now, it don't take but a second for that money to come out of your bank account. Mm-hmm. But when that charge was an error, it's going to take 7 to 10 business days to put it back. To put it back, it didn't take that long to take it out. Money is just different like that. Why? I don't know. Don't let that be inside your relationship. We keep that type of foolishness out of our relationship, and then we don't always have to be doing something that involves money to get enjoyment out of it. We can watch
Netflix,
Sisters, right? You can watch Netflix.
Yeah, Sisters. I can't wait for Sisters to come back. It's coming back.
Coming about a week. Yeah, about a week. We can watch TV. We can watch CNN. We watch Martin all day long. Martin been running for 30 years.
We're watching the playoffs.
Yes.
We like, it's plenty
Jordan
of things
Poole.
you can do without money. But go ahead. I know you were making a point.
Okay, but you distracted me. I don't remember what my point was.
It's plenty of things you could do without money, but we don't hold money to a high regard in the sense that I'm not going to say it's not important because you need money to live, but we don't have that love of money to where if we didn't have any, we wouldn't be happy together.
Some folk can look at their relationship and they could honestly say, if there was more money in this house, there would be a problem. We would have a problem because I would want to do more or whatever. People can actually, some folk being broke is a
blessing.
It's a blessing to the relationship, because if one or the other had more money, they probably would act a fool. And I don't want you telling me I'm grown. I don't want you telling me where I can and can't go. I'm out. So I'm bringing all this in to say it doesn't take but a second to allow how people treat money, the love of money, disrupt or destroy your relationship. It can happen easily. Mm-hmm. And you hear people quote this all the time, money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. The love of money is the root of all evil. Get it straight. Money just sitting in the room by itself is not going to burn the house down. But just keep these things in mind that for whatever reason, I know, like the OJ say, it's a small piece of paper, but it carries a lot of weight. You can do a lot with money, but money can cause a lot of problems if you allow them, if you don't see them coming, if you aren't able to cut them off before they get there. And the communication that, we've talked about this whole episode it's really huge. Hopefully you can get to that comfort zone of speaking with your spouse about it and come up with a plan that works for the household, for the two of you, where resentment doesn't come in because one makes more than the other, or my family member passes away and leaves an insurance policy, and then you're looking at me like, what are we gonna do with the money? And I'm thinking, you didn't spend your...
She wasn't your grandma.
Yeah, you barely knew her.
She didn't even like you.
You was just talking trash about her last week. I'll show you. Yeah, so
oh my goodness.
It can happen. We have fun with it. We laugh at stuff all the time, but I like this stuff is serious. It's the truth. It can happen. So hopefully you're able to coexist without having to deal with some of this craziness.
All right. Well, let's get into Ask the Amoses. The question says, my husband and I met as co-workers at Burger King. I always had a plan to get a better job. I went to school and I did get a better job. Now we're 5 years in and he's still at Burger King, happy and hanging with the younger co-workers. He's 36, no car, and any discussion of a better job causes fights. Please give me advice.
So, 5 years. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like they had the expectation talk.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want him to do better. You want to live better. He's fine not living better. What do you do with that?
He may be happy where he is.
Right. But she's not happy where he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we go. Here comes the argument and the fight. Because he's living... I know people like that y'all don't have the same aspirations in life, the same goals in life. The size of my house, I love it. I absolutely love this house. And we plan to move and get a bigger house, a custom house. But I have friends that they would never even come and look at a house this size. Oh no, I don't need all that. I don't want all that. Mm-hmm. So everybody's expectations are not the same when it comes to lifestyle. So here's two people with two different lifestyles that they probably should have 4.5 years ago should have had a discussion. But here we go, 5 years, time is steady, pulling y'all apart on the mentality mm-hmm. of, well, you should want to do better. Get a better job. Get your own self a car. I don't know how he's getting around. Maybe they have...
Maybe she taking them to work.
Or maybe he rides a bus, or they live somewhere where it's a train or something. I don't know. I guess all that will come into play where he thinks, I can just ride the subway or whatever. But you're with somebody that thinks you need a car. So we may be inclined to believe she's dropping him off and picking him up or whatever. But again, here comes that word, communication. Y'all should have discussed it. It's kind of tough to discuss it now if it keeps causing arguments.
A lot of times people go into things with preconceived notions, and instead of communicating, they just believe what it looks like. Now, she met him. They were both working at the same fast food restaurant. So he might have been looking at it like, we're equal. We both have the same goal, to work here and see where that takes us. But I would only have to believe that she was 31 if she said he's 36. Well, she didn't say how old she was, but he was 31 working at the fast food restaurant. So why didn't you know then that he didn't have
The desire.
goals to do more than what he was doing? Like, at 31, definitely not saying it's too late to go to college. I graduated from law school at 40, what was I, 44? 44. So it's definitely not too late, but you have to not look at everything with rose-colored glasses. You have to see things for what they are. So if he was 31 working at this fast food restaurant, that should have been one of the first conversations you had with him. Like, what are your goals? If you didn't find that odd that he was working at Burger King at 31?
So am I to believe that, I guess it's safe to assume maybe she changed over the years?
Definitely.
To think that, okay, it was fine when I met you. Seems like that would be the time when that would bother you probably the most is, okay, I'm dating a guy with no car that works fast food. Like, unless I'm just really lonely and desperate, you know, if at some point I would think this is not gonna get it as us being a group. Like, I need you to step your game up.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you think he needed to step his game up back then? So,
and there's nothing wrong with working at Burger King. Like, maybe instead of growing resentment towards him, maybe you can encourage him to be a manager or something. If he's been there that long, like, he ought to know the ins and outs of that restaurant. Maybe you could start talking to him about being an entrepreneur and open his own restaurant. Surely he has the experience to run it if he's been working there that long. You know, we've discussed before being able to motivate and encourage your spouse, and not to put them down or talk down on them. It almost sounds like to me she's looking down on him a little bit. Like, I worked there too, but now I've went to college and graduated and I got a better job and he's still working there. Like, you just got this job. If this is 5 years later, you didn't just it's not like you've been there for 10 years and you looking at him like, ugh. So it took you at least 4 years to get through college. So now you have a new job. Help motivate him. He's already looking at you hustle and grind. That's already motivation, whether he tells you or not. He's looking at it like, man, my wife is out here doing it. And I would think that will make a man want to strive to do better. Just like we talked about Kirk and Rashida. And Kirk said when he sees that she has more money in his savings account, he goes out and does something to make it pop. So try encouraging him to, like I said, babe, why don't you consider being a manager? Why don't you consider, you know, I don't know what your college degree is, but maybe you can help him in some type of way. If he wants to be an entrepreneur and start his own restaurant, he get the little friends that you said, the young friends that he's with, he can have them come work for him at his new spot. You know, you just have to, when you guys are one, you have to make the most of that situation. You can't look at him as if he's less than you because now you've gone to college. Sometimes you guys have to balance each other out. So if you're looking at each other as one, motivate them.
And realize that, I mean, you probably realize this now, that the negative energy is only going to bring negative results. So, like you say, try to encourage them. I guess maybe you thought your journey would have encouraged him, and maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
College is not for everybody.
But definitely have to find a different way to present it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because however you presented it the prior times and it caused the arguments, okay, well, you can scratch that way off the list.
That's not going to work. That doesn't mean pick a new day and bring the same argument.
You have to find another way to communicate with him that he can receive it. And, you know, if it's in him, hopefully it will bring positive results.
Okay, well, that is it for episode 15. Like we said, next week will be our season finale. season 2 finale. We're so grateful for the feedback. If you're not following us already, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Get a Love Like Mine podcast. If you would like your question answered on the show, send us an email to getalovelikemindepodcast@gmail.com. Even though we are not going to be filming this summer, if you guys send us an Ask the Amoses, don't think that we're not going to answer it. We may record special segments just for Ask the Amoses, so feel free to send us stuff even though we're going to be on hiatus. You have anything else?
That's it for me.
All right. Happy Sunday.